Mary Teresa Bojaxhiu, better known as Mother Teresa, was an Indian-Albanian Catholic nun who, in 1950, founded the Missionaries of Charity. Anjas Bojaxhiu was born in Skopje at the time, part of the Ottoman Empire. After 18 years, she moved to Ireland and then to India, where she lived most of her life. Saint Teresa of Calcutta was canonized on September 4, 2016. The anniversary of her death is her feast day. After Mother Teresa founded her religious congregation, it grew to have over 4,500 nuns and was active in 133 countries as of 2012. The congregation manages homes for people who are dying of HIV/AIDS, leprosy, and tuberculosis. The congregation also runs soup kitchens, dispensaries, mobile clinics, children's and family counseling programs, as well as orphanages and schools. Members take vows of chastity, poverty, and obedience and also profess a fourth vow, to give wholehearted free service to the poorest of the poor. Mother Teresa received several honors, including the 1962 Ramon Magsaysay Peace Prize and the 1979 Nobel Peace Prize. A controversial figure during her life and after her death, Mother Teresa was admired by many for her charitable work. She was praised and criticized on various counts, such as for her views on abortion and contraception, and was criticized for poor conditions in her houses for the dying. Her authorized biography was written by Navin Chawla and published in 1992, and she has been the subject of films and other books. On September 6, 2017, Mother Teresa and Saint Francis Xavier were named co-patrons of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Calcutta. Biography. Early life. Mother Teresa's given name was Anjas Bojaxhiu. She was baptized in Skopje the day after her birth. She later considered August 27, the day she was baptized, her true birthday. She was the youngest child of Nicolae and Drinophile Bojaxhiu. Her father, who was involved in Albanian community politics in Ottoman Macedonia, died in 1919 when she was 8 years old. He was born in Prizren, however, his family was from Merdita. Her mother may have been from a village near Jakova, believed by her offspring to be Bishtajan. According to a biography by Joan Groff Klukas, Anjas was in her early years when she became fascinated by stories of the lives of missionaries and their service in Bengal. By age 12, she was convinced that she should commit herself to religious life. Her resolve strengthened on August 15, 1928 as she prayed at the shrine of the Black Madonna of Vitanalet Nice, where she often went on pilgrimages. Anjas left home in 1928 at age 18 to join the Sisters of Loreto at Loreto Abbey in Rathfarnham, Ireland, to learn English with the intent of becoming a missionary. English was the language of instruction of the Sisters of Loreto in India. She saw neither her mother nor her sister again. Her family lived in Skopje until 1934, when they moved to Tirana. She arrived in India in 1929 and began her novitiate in Darjeeling, in the lower Himalayas, where she learned Bengali and taught at St. Teresa's school near her convent. She took her first religious vows on May 24, 1931. She chose to be named after Therese de Lisieux, the patron saint of missionaries. Because a nun in the convent had already chosen that name, she opted for its Spanish spelling of Teresa. Teresa took her solemn vows on May 14, 1937 while she was a teacher at the Loreto Convent School in Entally, eastern Calcutta, taking the style of mother as part of Loreto custom. She served there for nearly 20 years and was appointed its headmistress in 1944. Although Mother Teresa enjoyed teaching at the school, she was increasingly disturbed by the poverty surrounding her in Calcutta. The Bengal famine of 1943 brought misery and death to the city, and the August 1946 Direct Action Day began a period of Muslim-Hindu violence. In 1946, during a visit to Darjeeling by train, Mother Teresa felt that she heard the call of her inner conscience to serve the poor of India for Jesus. She asked for and received permission to leave the school. In 1950, she founded the Missionaries of Charity, choosing a white sari with 2 blue borders as the order's habit. Missionaries of Charity. On September 10, 1946, Teresa experienced what she later described as the call within the call when she traveled by train to the Loreto convent in Darjeeling from Calcutta for her annual retreat. I was to leave the convent and help the poor while living among them. It was an order. To fail would have been to break the faith. Joseph Langford later wrote, though no one knew it at the time, Sister Teresa had just become Mother Teresa. She began missionary work with the poor in 1948, replacing her traditional Loreto habit with a simple, white cotton sari with a blue border. Mother Teresa adopted Indian citizenship, spent several months in Patna to receive basic medical training at Holy Family Hospital and ventured into the slums. She founded a school in Motage Hill, Calcutta, before she began tending to the poor and hungry. At the beginning of 1949, Mother Teresa was joined in her effort by a group of young women, and she laid the foundation for a new religious community helping the poorest among the poor. Her efforts quickly caught the attention of Indian officials, including the Prime Minister. Mother Teresa wrote in her diary that her first year was fraught with difficulty. With no income, she begged for food and supplies and experienced doubt, loneliness, and the temptation to return to the comfort of convent life during these early months. Our Lord wants me to be a free nun covered with the poverty of the cross. Today, I learned a good lesson. The poverty of the poor must be so hard for them. While looking for a home I walked and walked till my arms and legs ached. I thought how much they must ache in body and soul, looking for a home, food, and health. Then, the comfort of Loreto came to tempt me. You have only to say the word and all that will be yours again, the tempter kept on saying. Of free choice, my God, and out of love for you, I desire to remain and do whatever be your holy will in my regard. I did not let a single tear come. On October 7, 1950, Mother Teresa received Vatican permission for the diocesan congregation, which would become the Missionaries of Charity. In her words, it would care for the hungry, the naked, the homeless, the crippled, the blind, the lepers, all those people who feel unwanted, unloved, uncared for throughout society, people that have become a burden to the society and are shunned by everyone. In 1952, Mother Teresa opened her first hospice with help from Calcutta officials. She converted an abandoned Hindu temple into the Kali Ghat home for the dying, free for the poor, and renamed it Kali Ghat, the home of the pure heart. Those brought to the home received medical attention and the opportunity to die with dignity in accordance with their faith. Muslims were read the Quran, Hindus received water from the Ganges, and Catholics received extreme unction. A beautiful death, Mother Teresa said, is for people who lived like animals to die like angels loved and wanted. She opened a hospice for those with leprosy, calling it Shanti Nagar. The Missionaries of Charity established leprosy outreach clinics throughout Calcutta, providing medication, dressings, and food. The Missionaries of Charity took in an increasing number of homeless children. In 1955, Mother Teresa opened Nirmala Shishu Bhavan, the Children's Home of the Immaculate Heart, as a haven for orphans and homeless youth. The congregation began to attract recruits and donations, and by the 1960s it had opened hospices, orphanages, and leper houses throughout India. Mother Teresa then expanded the congregation abroad, opening a house in Venezuela in 1965 with 5 sisters. Houses followed in Italy, Tanzania, and Austria in 1968, and, during the 1970s, the congregation opened houses and foundations in the United States and dozens of countries in Asia, Africa, and Europe. The Missionaries of Charity Brothers was founded in 1963, and a contemplative branch of the Sisters followed in 1976. Lay Catholics and non-Catholics were enrolled in the co-workers of Mother Teresa, the sick and suffering co-workers, and the lay missionaries of charity. Responding to requests by many priests, in 1981, Mother Teresa founded the Corpus Christi movement for priests and with Joseph Langford founded the Missionaries of Charity Fathers in 1984 to combine the vocational aims of the Missionaries of Charity with the resources of the priesthood. By 1997, the 13-member Calcutta congregation had grown to more than 4,000 sisters who managed orphanages, AIDS hospices, and charity centers worldwide, caring for refugees, the blind, disabled, aged, alcoholics, the poor and homeless and victims of floods, epidemics and famine. By 2007, the Missionaries of Charity numbered about 450 brothers and 5,000 sisters worldwide, operating 600 missions, schools, and shelters in 120 countries. International charity. Mother Teresa said, "By blood, I am Albanian. By citizenship, an Indian. By faith, I am a Catholic nun. As to my calling, I belong to the world. As to my heart, I belong entirely to the heart of Jesus." Fluent in 5 languages: Bengali, Albanian, Serbian, English and Hindi, she made occasional trips outside India for humanitarian reasons. At the height of the siege of Beirut in 1982, Mother Teresa rescued 37 children trapped in a frontline hospital by brokering a temporary ceasefire between the Israeli army and Palestinian guerrillas. Accompanied by Red Cross workers, she traveled through the war zone to the hospital to evacuate the young patients. When Eastern Europe experienced increased openness in the late 1980s, Mother Teresa expanded her efforts to communist countries which had rejected the Missionaries of Charity. She began dozens of projects, undeterred by criticism of her stands against abortion and divorce. No matter who says what, you should accept it with a smile and do your own work. She visited Armenia after the 1988 earthquake and met with Soviet Premier Nikolai Rizhkov. Mother Teresa traveled to assist the hungry in Ethiopia, radiation victims at Chernobyl and earthquake victims in Armenia. In 1991 she returned to Albania for the first time, opening a Missionaries of Charity Brothers home in Tirana. By 1996, the Missionaries of Charity operated 517 missions in over 100 countries. The number of sisters in the Missionaries of Charity grew from 12 to thousands, serving the poorest of the poor in 450 centers worldwide. The first Missionaries of Charity home in the United States was established in the South Bronx area of New York City, and by 1984 the congregation operated 19 establishments throughout the country. Declining health and death. Mother Teresa had a heart attack in Rome in 1983 while she was visiting Pope John Paul II. Following a second attack in 1989, she received a pacemaker. In 1991, after a bout of pneumonia in Mexico, she had additional heart problems. Although Mother Teresa offered to resign as head of the Missionaries of Charity, in a secret ballot the sisters of the congregation voted for her to stay, and she agreed to continue. In April 1996, Mother Teresa fell, breaking her collarbone, and 4 months later she had malaria and heart failure. Although she underwent heart surgery, her health was clearly declining. According to Archbishop of Calcutta Henry Sebastian de Souza, he ordered a priest to perform an exorcism when she was first hospitalized with cardiac problems because he thought she might be under attack by the devil. On March 13, 1997, Mother Teresa resigned as head of the Missionaries of Charity. She died on September 5. At the time of her death, the Missionaries of Charity had over 4,000 sisters and an associated brotherhood of 300 members operating 610 missions in 123 countries. These included hospices and homes for people with HIV/AIDS, leprosy, and tuberculosis, soup kitchens, children's and family counseling programs, orphanages, and schools. The Missionaries of Charity were aided by co-workers numbering over 1 million by the 1990s. Mother Teresa lay in repose in an open casket in St. Thomas, Calcutta, for a week before her funeral. She received a state funeral from the Indian government in gratitude for her service to the poor of all religions in the country. Cardinal Secretary of State Angelo Sodano, the Pope's representative, delivered the homily at the service. Mother Teresa's death was mourned in the secular and religious communities. Prime Minister of Pakistan Nawaz Sharif called her a rare and unique individual who lived long for higher purposes. Her lifelong devotion to the care of the poor, the sick, and the disadvantaged was one of the highest examples of service to our humanity. According to former UN Secretary-General Javier Pérez de Cuellar, she is the United Nations. She is peace in the world. Recognition and reception. India. From the Indian government, under the name of Mary Teresa Bojaxhiu, Mother Teresa was issued a diplomatic passport. She received the Padma Shri in 1962 and the Jawaharlal Nehru Award for International Understanding in 1969. She later received other Indian awards, including the Bharat Ratna in 1980. Mother Teresa's official biography, by Navin Chawla, was published in 1992. In Calcutta, she is worshipped as a deity by some Hindus. To commemorate the 100th anniversary of her birth, the Government of India issued a special 5 coin on August 28, 2010. President Pratibha Patil said, clad in a white sari with a blue border, she and the Sisters of Missionaries of Charity became a symbol of hope to many, namely, the aged, the destitute, the unemployed, the diseased, the terminally ill, and those abandoned by their families. Indian views of Mother Teresa are not uniformly favorable. Arup Chatterjee, a physician born and raised in Calcutta who was an activist in the city's slums for years around 1980 before moving to the UK, said that he never even saw any nuns in those slums. His research, involving more than 100 interviews with volunteers, nuns, and others familiar with the Missionaries of Charity, was described in a 2003 book critical of Mother Teresa. Chatterjee criticized her for promoting a cult of suffering and a distorted, negative image of Calcutta, exaggerating work done by her mission and misusing funds and privileges at her disposal. According to him, some of the hygiene problems he had criticized improved after Mother Teresa's death in 1997. Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya, Mayor of Calcutta from 2005 to 2010, said that she had no significant impact on the poor of this city, glorified illness instead of treating it and misrepresented the city. No doubt there was poverty in Calcutta, but it was never a city of lepers and beggars, as Mother Teresa presented it. On the Hindu right, the Bharatiya Janata Party clashed with Mother Teresa over the Christian Dalits but praised her in death and sent a representative to her funeral. Vishva Hindu Parishad, however, opposed the government decision to grant her a state funeral. Secretary Giriraj Kishore said that her first duty was to the church and social service was incidental, accusing her of favoring Christians and conducting secret baptisms of the dying. In a front-page tribute, the Indian Fortnightly Frontline dismissed the charges as patently false and said that they had made no impact on the public perception of her work, especially in Calcutta. Praising her selfless caring, energy and bravery, the author of the tribute criticized Teresa's public campaign against abortion and her claim to be non-political. In February 2015, Mohan Bhagwat, leader of the Hindu right-wing organization Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, said that Mother Teresa's objective was to convert the person, who was being served, into a Christian. Former RSS spokesperson M.G. Vaidya supported Bhagwat's assessment, and the organization accused the media of distorting facts about Bhagwat's remarks. Trinamool Congress MP Derek O'Brien, CPI leader Atul Anjan and Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal protested Bhagwat's statement. Elsewhere, Mother Teresa received the Ramon Magsaysay Award for Peace and International Understanding, given for work in South or East Asia, in 1962. According to its citation, the Board of Trustees recognizes her merciful cognizance of the abject poor of a foreign land, in whose service she has led a new congregation. By the early 1970s, Mother Teresa was an international celebrity. She had been catapulted to fame via Malcolm Muggeridge's 1969 BBC documentary, Something Beautiful for God, before he released a 1971 book of the same name. Muggeridge was undergoing a spiritual journey of his own at the time. During filming, footage shot in poor lighting was thought unlikely to be usable by the crew. The crew had been using new, untested photographic film. In England, the footage was found to be extremely well lit and Muggeridge called it a miracle of divine light from Teresa. Other crew members said that it was due to a new type of ultra-sensitive Kodak film. Muggeridge later converted to Catholicism. Around this time, the Catholic world began to honor Mother Teresa publicly. Pope Paul VI gave her the inaugural Pope John XXIII Peace Prize in 1971, commending her work with the poor, her display of Christian charity and her efforts for peace. She received the Pacem in Terris Award in 1976. After her death, Teresa progressed rapidly on the road to sainthood. She was honored by governments and civilian organizations and appointed an honorary Companion of the Order of Australia in 1982 for service to the community of Australia and humanity at large. The United Kingdom and the United States bestowed a number of awards, culminating in the Order of Merit in 1983 and honorary citizenship of the United States on November 16, 1996. Mother Teresa's Albanian homeland gave her the Golden Honor of the Nation in 1994, but her acceptance of this and the Haitian Legion of Honor was controversial. Mother Teresa was criticized for implicitly supporting the Duvalier and corrupt businessmen such as Charles Keating and Robert Maxwell. She wrote to the judge of Keating's trial requesting clemency. Universities in India and the West granted her honorary degrees. Other civilian awards included the Balzan Prize for promoting humanity, peace, and brotherhood among peoples and the Albert Schweitzer International Prize. In April 1976, Mother Teresa visited the University of Scranton in northeastern Pennsylvania, where she received the La Storta Medal for Human Service from University President William J. Byron. She challenged an audience of 4,500 to know poor people in your own home and local neighborhood, feeding others, or simply spreading joy and love. Mother Teresa continued, "The poor will help us grow in sanctity, for they are Christ in the guise of distress." In August 1987, Mother Teresa received an honorary Doctor of Social Science degree from the university in recognition of her service and her ministry to help the destitute and sick. She spoke to over 4,000 students and members of the Diocese of Scranton about her service to the poorest of the poor, telling them to do small things with great love. During her lifetime, Mother Teresa was among the top 10 women in the annual Gallup's Most Admired Man and Woman poll 18 times, finishing first several times in the 1980s and 1990s. In 1999 she headed Gallup's list of most widely admired people of the 20th century, outpolling all other volunteered answers by a wide margin. She was first in all major demographic categories except the very young. Nobel Peace Prize. Social and political views. Mother Teresa singled out abortion as the greatest destroyer of peace today. "Because if a mother can kill her own child, what is left for me to kill you and you kill me? There is nothing between." Barbara Smoker of the secular humanist magazine The Freethinker criticized Mother Teresa after the Peace Prize award, saying that her promotion of Catholic moral teachings on abortion and contraception diverted funds from effective methods to solve India's problems. At the Fourth World Conference on Women in Beijing, Mother Teresa said, "Yet we can destroy this gift of motherhood, especially by the evil of abortion, but also by thinking that other things like jobs or positions are more important than loving. Criticism. According to a paper by Canadian academics Serge Larivy, Genevieve Chenard, and Carol Senecal, Mother Teresa's clinics received millions of dollars in donations but lacked medical care, systematic diagnosis, necessary nutrition, and sufficient analgesics for those in pain. In the opinion of the three academics, Mother Teresa believed the sick must suffer like Christ on the cross. It was said that the additional money might have transformed the health of the city's poor by creating advanced palliative care facilities. One of Mother Teresa's most outspoken critics was English journalist and anti-theist Christopher Hitchens, host of the documentary Hell's Angel and author of the essay The Missionary Position, Mother Teresa in Theory and Practice, who wrote in a 2003 article, "This returns us to the medieval corruption of the Church, which sold indulgences to the rich while preaching hellfire and continence to the poor. Was not a friend of the poor. She was a friend of poverty. She said that suffering was a gift from God. She spent her life opposing the only known cure for poverty, which is the empowerment of women and the emancipation of them from a livestock version of compulsory reproduction." He accused her of hypocrisy for choosing advanced treatment for her heart condition. Hitchens said that her intention was not to help people, and that she lied to donors about how their contributions were used. "It was by talking to her that I discovered, and she assured me, that she wasn't working to alleviate poverty," he said, "she was working to expand the number of Catholics. She said, I'm not a social worker. I don't do it for this reason. I do it for Christ. I do it for the Church." Although Hitchens thought he was the only witness called by the Holy See, Arup Chatterjee was also called to present evidence opposing Mother Teresa's beatification and canonization. In 1994, Mother Teresa argued that the sexual abuse allegations against Jesuit priest Donald McGuire were untrue. When he was convicted of sexually molesting multiple children in 2006, Mother Teresa's defense of him was criticized. Abortion rights groups have also criticized Mother Teresa's stance against abortion and contraception. Spiritual life. Analyzing her deeds and achievements, Pope John Paul II said, "Where did Mother Teresa find the strength and perseverance to place herself completely at the service of others? She found it in prayer and in the silent contemplation of Jesus Christ, His holy face, His sacred heart." Privately, Mother Teresa experienced doubts and struggle in her religious beliefs which lasted nearly 50 years, until the end of her life. Mother Teresa expressed grave doubts about God's existence and pain over her lack of faith. "Where is my faith? Even deep down, there is nothing but emptiness and darkness. If there be God, please forgive me. When I try to raise my thoughts to heaven, there is such convicting emptiness that those very thoughts return like sharp knives and hurt my very soul." Other saints had similar experiences of spiritual dryness. According to James Langford, these doubts were typical and would not be an impediment to canonization. After 10 years of doubt, Mother Teresa described a brief period of renewed faith. After Pope Pius XII's death in 1958, she was praying for him at a Requiem Mass when she was relieved of the long darkness, that strange suffering. However, 5 weeks later her spiritual dryness returned. Mother Teresa wrote many letters to her confessors and superiors over a 66-year period, most notably to Calcutta Archbishop Ferdinand Purrier and Jesuit priest Celeste van Exum. She requested that her letters be destroyed, concerned that people will think more of me, less of Jesus. However, the correspondence was compiled in Mother Teresa, Come Be My Light. Mother Teresa wrote to spiritual confidant Michael van der Peet, Jesus has a very special love for you. As for me, the silence and the emptiness is so great, that I look and do not see, listen and do not hear, the tongue moves but does not speak. I want you to pray for me that I let him have free hand. India's Caritas Est, Pope Benedict XVI mentioned Mother Teresa 3 times and used her life to clarify one of the encyclical's main points. In the example of Blessed Teresa of Calcutta, we have a clear illustration of the fact that time devoted to God in prayer not only does not detract from effective and loving service to our neighbor but is in fact the inexhaustible source of that service. She wrote, "It is only by mental prayer and spiritual reading that we can cultivate the gift of prayer." Although her order was not connected with the Franciscan orders, Mother Teresa admired Francis of Assisi and was influenced by Franciscan spirituality. The Sisters of Charity recite the prayer of Saint Francis every morning at Mass during the Thanksgiving after Communion, and their emphasis on ministry and many of their vows are similar. Francis emphasized poverty, chastity, obedience, and submission to Christ. He devoted much of his life to serving the poor, particularly lepers. Canonization, miracle and beatification. After Mother Teresa's death in 1997, the Holy See began the process of beatification and Brian Kolodioichuk was appointed postulator by the Diocese of Calcutta. Although he said, "We didn't have to prove that she was perfect or never made a mistake," he had to prove that Mother Teresa's virtue was heroic. Kolodioichuk submitted 76 documents, totaling 35,000 pages, which were based on interviews with 113 witnesses who were asked to answer 263 questions. The process of canonization requires the documentation of a miracle resulting from the intercession of the prospective saint. In 2002, the Vatican recognized as a miracle the healing of a tumor in the abdomen of Monica Bisra, an Indian woman, after the application of a locket containing Teresa's picture. According to Bisra, a beam of light emanated from the picture and her cancerous tumor was cured. However, her husband and some of her medical staff said that conventional medical treatment eradicated the tumor. Ranjan Mustafi, who told the New York Times he had treated Bisra, said that the cyst was caused by tuberculosis. It was not a miracle. She took medicines for 9 months to 1 year. According to Bisra's husband, "My wife was cured by the doctors and not by any miracle. This miracle is a hoax." Bisra said that her medical records, including sonograms, prescriptions, and physician's notes, were confiscated by Sister Betta of the Missionaries of Charity. According to Time, calls to Sister Betta and the office of Sister Nirmala produced no comment. Officials at Balurghat Hospital, where Bisra sought medical treatment, said that they were pressured by the order to call her cure miraculous. In February 2000, former West Bengal Health Minister Parth Hota ordered a review of Bisra's medical records at the Department of Health in Calcutta. According to Day, there was nothing unusual about her illness and cure based on her lengthy treatment. He said that he had refused to give the Vatican the name of a doctor who would certify that Monica Bisra's healing was a miracle. During Mother Teresa's beatification and canonization, the Vatican studied published and unpublished criticism of her life and work. Christopher Hitchens and Chatterjee spoke to the tribunal. According to Vatican officials, the allegations raised were investigated by the Congregation for the Causes of Saints. The group found no obstacle to Mother Teresa's canonization, and issued its nihil obstat on April 21, 1999. Because of the attacks on her, some Catholic writers called her a sign of contradiction. Mother Teresa was beatified on October 19, 2003, and was known by Catholics as blessed. Canonization. CO Patron of Calcutta Archdiocese. On September 4, 2017, during a celebration honoring the first anniversary of her canonization, Sister Mary Prima Pirak, Superior General of the Missionaries of Charity, announced that Mother Teresa would be made the CO Patron of the Calcutta Archdiocese during a Mass in the Cathedral of the Most Holy Rosary on September 6, 2017. On September 5, 2017, Archbishop Thomas de Souza, who serves as head of the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of Calcutta, confirmed that Mother Teresa would be named CO patron of the Calcutta Diocese, alongside Francis Xavier. On September 6, 2017, about 500 people attended the Mass at a cathedral where Dominique Gomez, the local vicar general, read the decree instituting her as the second patron saint of the Archdiocese. The ceremony was also presided over by de Souza and the Vatican's ambassador to India, Giambattista Di Quattro, who lead the Mass and inaugurated a bronze statue in the Church of Mother Teresa carrying a child. The Catholic Church declared Saint Francis Xavier the first patron saint of Calcutta in 1986. Legacy and depictions in popular culture. Commemorations. Mother Teresa has been commemorated by museums and named the patroness of a number of churches. She has had buildings, roads, and complexes named after her, including Albania's international airport. Mother Teresa Day, October 19, is a public holiday in Albania. In 2009, the Memorial House of Mother Teresa was opened in her hometown of Skopje, North Macedonia. The Cathedral of Blessed Mother Teresa in Pristina, Kosovo, is named in her honor. The demolition of a historic high school building to make way for the new construction initially sparked controversy in the local community, but the high school was later relocated to a new, more spacious campus. Consecrated on September 5, 2017, it became the first cathedral in Mother Teresa's honor and the second extant one in Kosovo. Mother Teresa Women's University, in Kodaikanal, was established in 1984 as a public university by the government of Tamil Nadu. The Mother Teresa Postgraduate and Research Institute of Health Sciences, in Pondicherry, was established in 1999 by the government of Puducherry. The charitable organization Sevalai runs the Mother Teresa Girls' Home, providing poor and orphaned girls near the underserved village of Kashova in Tamil Nadu with free food, clothing, shelter, and education. A number of tributes by Mother Teresa's biographer, Navin Chawla, have appeared in Indian newspapers and magazines. Indian Railways introduced the Mother Express, a new train named after Mother Teresa, on August 26, 2010 to commemorate the centenary of her birth. The Tamil Nadu government organized centenary celebrations honoring Mother Teresa on December 4, 2010 in Chennai, headed by Chief Minister M. Karunanidhi. Beginning on September 5, 2013, the anniversary of her death has been designated the International Day of Charity by the United Nations General Assembly. In 2012, Mother Teresa was ranked number 5 in Outlook India's poll of the greatest Indian. Sacred Heart University in Fairfield, Connecticut, has a residence hall named after her, called Teresa of Calcutta Hall. Film and literature. Documentaries and books. Dramatic films and television. See also: Abdul Sattar Ethi. Albanians. List of Albanians. List of female Nobel laureates. The Greatest Indian. Roman Catholicism in Albania. Roman Catholicism in Kosovo. Roman Catholicism in North Macedonia.